Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Awesome. It is so good to be able to be with you guys and hang out. I've been with you guys for the last couple days. I've been on speaking a lot lately, but I've been here for the last 2 days. Hung out with Mark. He don't eat until 10 o'clock at night. I don't know what it is about you Miami people, but you don't eat until 10 o'clock at night. And I hung out with Alex Miranda last night from the church here for a fundraiser. It's been an awesome week. You have an amazing pastor. Pastor Bob is an awesome guy. Would you give him a big hand? He is an amazing pastor. And but man, it is really awesome to be able to be with you guys. And why don't you stand with me real quick? And we're going to just stand up. Some of you looking like, oh man, I'm tired. Dude, this is my second time, so just get up. And I am a pastor of a church as well as Pastor Bob is, but I also work with Feed One. We'll be talking about that towards the end, but I think God's got something for us to say here today that I think is going to be fitting to you and fitting to the church. And just a little bit about me. I am a pastor, as I said. I do a lot of motivational speaking for Verizon, Home Depot, and work a lot with Feed One. I am married to a Hispanic woman. Oh, she's hot. And I call her my little hot tamale. And, oh, no, she is. And she don't speak English, so we get along perfectly. We don't have anything to argue about. And we have two wonderful children. I mean, amazing children. Yes, we love them so much. Our son is in his second year of Bible or college. My daughter goes to a Bible college, but second year of college, a university, and he is a pitcher. He's a left-handed pitcher on the team. Yeah, I got him a tattoo this past summer. It says my 401k. So it's my own personal financial plan. But and he works out, man, and he's good looking. He's available so applications. He's got the whole little six-pack, you know. I got like a cake, but he's got like a six-pack. And he's just a good-looking kid, works out all the time, exercise, athletic, outgoing. My daughter, she texts. That's it. She's very good at it, though, so pray for us. We're praying for a scholarship in texting, so just believing God to take care of financial needs. But, hey, could you spread your hands really wide like this real quick? We're going to have some fun. I think church, of all places in 168 hours of your week, should be the funnest, greatest place to be at during the week. That's my opinion. So here's what we're going to do. On the count of three, I'm going to ask, again, it's going to be a little awkward because you're in rows, but you can figure it out. On the count of three, I want you to clap your hands. Ready? Not yet. Why did everybody do that? Ready? Yeah, all right. On the count of three, I said. You guys can't follow instructions. Years ago, you had voting issues. I don't know what's going on in this state of yours. All right, ready? Here we go. On the count of three, clap your hands, and this time I want you to hold them together however they land. They land like this. Just hold them together. Don't clap back out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, clap. All right, now hold your hands together. Look down with me at your hands. This is a scientific test. It was on Dr. Phil, so you know it's true. And this is a scientific test to kind of let me know the kind of crowd I'm dealing with here. Ready? Look down. If your left thumb is over the right thumb, look down. Left thumb over the right thumb. Keep them together, but lift it up in the air. Left thumb over the right thumb. Okay, you people are the best thinkers in the room. You're the smartest people. That's who you are. Yeah, and if your hand's not lifted, you're just dumb. But you put your hand down, keep them together. Left thumb over the right thumb. You're the best thinkers. You made no noise. You're one of the only crowds that didn't go, yeah, we're smart. You're just like, yeah, we're smart. We got a degree. We have $80,000 in debt. All right. If your right thumb is over the left thumb, that's the opposite. So you got your best thinkers. Now right thumb over the left thumb. That's different. Lift it up in the air. Let me see who you are. You people are the best looking in the room. Okay, you don't have any brains, but man, you're good looking. If your hand's not up, don't worry. God loves you, and he'll find someone for you. So you keep your hands together now. If you're the best thinker, and then we also have best looking. How many had your thumbs perfectly together? Let me see. Okay, there are a few of you. You people just think you're good looking. That's who you are. It's an ego issue with you. All right, you can be seated. My wife always tells me that I have a bucket list of things that I'd like to do. Go down the Nile River, climb a pyramid, be on every continent, bungee jump, blah, blah, blah. And I do. I'm a bucket list type of guy, and I've done a lot of that stuff, traveled a lot. One of the things I did years ago when at our church, we did this thing called Living the Great Adventure. And every week, a pastor, one of our staff members, would film something crazy, and then we would watch it on video. Like one of the pastors did barefoot water skiing, which they'd never done before, and it was hilarious because we made them hang on to the thing, and it was just a disaster. And then one of them, the youth pastor, got trained to be a bull rider. And we got to watch them ride a bull, and the bull just got him. And we watched it on screen. It was awesome. And then we took our children's director, and we took her down to a sheriff's academy, this young lady, and she was all roped up like this, and then the dogs attacked her. She was used as an attacked person like that. We were looking for a reason to kind of get rid of her. She wasn't doing a good job, so it just kind of worked out. She's not with us anymore, but it all worked out. And then my job, and everybody knew it in the church. They knew I was coming up next. My job was to go skydiving. Anybody ever go skydiving here before? Anybody here? Yeah, you with a broken arm. Anybody else? A few of you. Okay, cool. So went skydiving. Now, I didn't tandem jump. Tandem is when you hook onto the person, and then you kind of just go along for a ride. They open up the parachute, blah, blah, blah. But I did the free falling all on my own. I had nobody hooked to me. So I went and did hours and hours of training. I've trained like 6-7 hours. And you got to go and sign a bunch of paperwork and do all this stuff. And I mean, literally page after page after page of signing paperwork so they don't get sued if something goes wrong, blah, blah, blah. And so I go inside the class, and it starts at 8 in the morning, and it's about as big as this stage. And there's a few chairs, and I'm sitting there listening to the instructor. The instructor's behind there. He's giving instructions, showing videos, showing what to do, all this other stuff. And he says, and I raised my hand in the middle of the class. And I said to him, "Sir?" And he said, "Yes." He points at me. He goes, "Yes." I said, I noticed when I signed everything that you guys don't guarantee anything. And he goes, "No, I don't guarantee nothing." And I said, "You don't guarantee the plane?" He goes, "No." I said, "You don't guarantee the parachute?" "No." I said, "You don't guarantee the instructions we're getting here today?" He goes, "No." I said, "You don't guarantee the landing?" He goes, "Oh, no. We guarantee you'll land." One way or another, dude, you will hit the ground. And so, all right, praise God. And so, yeah. And then, here comes another funny thing. He gives out this piece of paper. I'm using the Feed One envelope, but it was all blank, and it had little squares. And each one of those squares had hand signals that you had to memorize because your jump master would jump out with you 20 feet away. And if he does this, your arms are too far apart, your legs are too far apart, you're moving too much. All 21 different hand signals. And I raised my hand, and I go, "Are these hand signals important?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, it's a matter of life and death." I go, "How am I going to memorize all 21 of them?" This is what he tells me. He goes, "Oh, don't worry. You can take the paper with you." Like, how's that going to help, dude? I got it, So hours go by, the training's done, and my wife says, "Call me when you're like an hour away because I want to come see you jump." It was about 45 minutes away from where we lived. And so I said, "Okay." So I called my wife, and they say that I'm going to jump. Now, my kids, that night, we were going to go to Chuck E. Cheese, and we were going to go to the community theater. My daughter was 10, my son was 9. We were going to go to the community theater to watch The Wizard of Oz. So my daughter's all dressed up as Dorothy. She's got the basket and everything. They're all fired up. About 3:34 in the afternoon, I called and said, "You better come on down." They say, "I'm going to jump in an hour." They come on down. My wife's all excited, insurance policy hanging outside of her pocket. She's like, "Oh, please, God, please let him." And I'm standing there, and I'm talking to my son. Me and my son are right here. He's 9 years old. My daughter's 10, all dressed as Dorothy. And my wife's standing here like this. And I'm talking to my son. And my son, he's very emotional. And my son says to me, he goes, "Dad, I don't want you to go. What if something happens?" And I said, "Son," I'm trying to console him. I said, "Son," I go, "don't worry, God's in control." But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, is he? Or is he up there going, "You're the dummy jumping out of the plane"? I don't know which one it is. But I overhear my daughter say to my wife. Now, my daughter doesn't know that I overhear, but I overhear my daughter say to my wife, God honest truth, she's 10 years old. She goes, "Now, if Daddy dies, we're still going to go see the wizard, right?" And that's not going to mess that up, right? Because that's the important thing. We lose him, but the wizard starts at 7. So it's time for me to go jump. So I go on the plane. It's a long, narrow plane with a bench, and you get on the plane, you just walk. You feel like you're in the Green Mile. You're going to die. And I go, and I'm waiting, and then okay, it's time. And they open up the door. It's noisy. "Okay, Chris, your turn." Okay, now, I got 2 jump masters. Yo-Yo, those are guys that go with you. And the names of the jump masters were Yo-Yo and Ed. My life was in the hands of a Yo-Yo and an Ed. And so I stand up there, I don't know, 15, 20,000 feet in the air, whatever it was. I got my hand here, and I'm looking out the window. I'm looking out the thing, and I'm just hanging on. I'm like, oh, dear God. And I just remember, honest to God, I went like this. It's all, ba, 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 ba. But the church, I would have chickened out. I would have just been like done. But the church knew that I was going to jump. So I was like, man, I am no way going back to church on Sunday as a chicken. But you know how the Bible says pride comes before a fall? It was about to happen. My pride got in the way, so I hung on like this. And I look at Yo-Yo, my flight instructor, who looks like, he's half stoned. And I look at the guy, and I'm like, Yo-Yo! I just kind of yell it out. I'm looking for mercy. I want you to know I'm really scared. This is what he tells me, honest to God truth. I'm 15 seconds away from jumping. He looks at me and he goes, don't worry, me and Ed will be just fine. I'm like, what the heck's that got to do with anything? So now I jump and I go through the air, and I'm having time and I pull the thing and it opens up and it's, amazing. It gets quiet. Just quiet as ever. Birds are going by. What are you doing up here? Yeah, it's awesome, And you're up there in the air, you're just floating, and half of you just thank God it's opened, but you're just there enjoying it. Now, here's the deal. I do a lot of flying, a lot of traveling, a ton of traveling. And let me tell you something. Most of my life, I have looked through the window that was 8 inches wide, and that was the best view that I ever got. But on that day, the view completely changed, being thousands of feet in the air, because it wasn't locked into this, it became this. Here's what I want to challenge you guys today. Today, I want to open your mind, I want to open your heart, I want to open the adventurous spirit that's inside of you, so that you no longer look at your life, your future, your marriage, your career, your finances through an 8-inch window, but that God in heaven's got something bigger for you. That's what I believe with all of my heart. I believe it. He's got it for you. He's got it for this church as you open up and say, man, God, you got something awesome. See, here's what happens, though, when we're growing up. Think about it for a minute. Hey, if you got a little kid or you see a little kid after church, you go up to them and you ask them the same question. It's universal. What do you want to be when you... Of course. And then I want to do that. I want to be a dinosaur and a doctor. Just whatever. But what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're all adventurous. But here's what happens. Somewhere around age 20, age 30, age 40, somewhere in your life, all of a sudden the dreams turn into routines. And you were born with a shout, but you end up with a whisper. And that's not the way God designed you to be. Because the God in heaven that I know has a desire for us, and He dreams big for your life and for this church, for your marriage, for your future. Here's what I know. If I had time to go around to each of you, and I do not have that time to do so today, but I went around you, I bet each of you, if we got into the depths of your dream, you would say something like, I always thought about writing a book. I always thought about writing this song. I always thought about starting this business. I always had this idea of this nonprofit. I always thought maybe that my marriage, I always thought that maybe this, and you've got these dreams because God puts it inside of you. But here's what you got to understand. You're thinking, man, I don't know if I could do it. Fear sets in, world sets in, averageness sets in. And then all of a sudden you begin to think, this is the best my life's going to get. Let me tell you something. You serve a big God. He isn't average. He doesn't do average things. You don't come into church on Sunday and sing, how average is our God. Oh, Lord, we love your averageness. You're so mediocre. It's just not, that's not what we do. So God's a big God. Why would He think that He would want His children to have anything less than His bigness? Genesis 1:21, verse 7 says this. It says that you were created in His image. Okay, and then in the actual translation says that you were born to live out His purposes. Do you know that there's a chemical inside of your brain that when you are not living out the purpose that has been put inside of your brain, it actually makes you sick more often? Why did God put that inside your brain? Because He made you to understand, look, if you want to live the right life and live healthy and have the right life, find the dreams that I've put inside of you and live them out. Peter, one of the disciples, he's one of my favorite disciples because he always messes up and God still loves him. I'm Peter in a nutshell. I'm always messing up. God's got to be up there going, man, Songson, get it together, dude, step into this. But Peter, now you got to understand something about Peter. Peter grew up 2,000 years ago when the Jewish male, the whole goal of the Jewish male was to be a rabbi. What was the whole goal of a Jewish male? To be a what? That was the whole goal. Now, that means you had to go to rabbi school. Now, rabbi school looked like this. From age 5 to age 10, you would go to a school called Bet Sefer, which translated meant the house of books. And you would memorize the first 5 books of the Bible, verse by verse. How many would already have failed? You'd be like, John 3:16. Does that work? John 3:16. If I make a sign. From age 10 to age 15, you go to Bet Talmud. Bet Talmud is the house of study. And that's where you're going to memorize the entire Old Testament verse by verse. When you're 15 years old, you move to the third and final phase called Bet Midrash, which translated means the house of learning. And what you do there is, check this out, you go to a rabbi at age 15. Rabbi, can I follow you? If the rabbi says, yes, you can follow me, you're in. He's going to mentor you, you're going to be his apprentice, and you'll become a rabbi. And your dreams are going to come true. However, if he says to you, for whatever reason, no, you cannot follow me, I will not apprentice you, then you have to leave the school and go back and do your family's trade. What was the family's trade? Could have been farming, could have been anything. Whatever they did, you had to go back, and that's what you were going to do. Now let's fast forward a little bit. When Jesus met Peter, anybody that knows a little bit of the Bible, when Jesus met Peter, what was Peter doing? Anybody know? Why was he fishing? Because he failed. He didn't make it. All his dreams and goals and objectives and milestones were shattered when he went to a rabbi and said, Rabbi, can I follow you? And the rabbi said, no, Peter, you're not good enough. You don't measure up. You're not good looking enough, smart enough, good enough, spiritual enough. I'm sorry, you don't measure up. Go back to your family's trade. He goes back home and he sits at the breakfast table and looks at mom and dad and said, they don't want me. I'm not good enough, man. This is the best my life's going to be. He grabs the net, puts it over his shoulder, and he heads out to the boat to be sentenced to a life of fishing forever. Until one day, the ultimate rabbi, Jesus, turns the tables on him. And instead of Peter saying, can I follow you? The ultimate rabbi says, you follow me. Changes everything. You know what he did for Peter that day? He spoke into Peter's future. He didn't see Peter as he was. He saw Peter as he could be. His dreams were shattered. His life was shattered. This is the best my life's going to get. You got to realize Peter was at that time, most likely, they say, in his 40s or 50s. So because people always do that. I'm too young for God to do anything great. I'm too old for God to do anything great. Well, when's the right age then? Listen, if you're still breathing, and it means that you're alive. And if you're not, and if you're alive, that God's not done with you. And the world needs what you have. So wherever you're at, God's going, okay, come, follow me. I want you to walk with me. I want to live out the dreams that God's put inside of your life. Now, if you have a Bible, I want to show you something in Matthew chapter 14. If you don't have a Bible, next time you're at a hotel, just get one. Totally free there. It's amazing. I got like 30 of them. I sell them on the side. I make a lot of money. It's Matthew chapter 14, verse 24. Now, understand, Jesus says, Peter, come follow me. But Peter still doubted in his heart, can God really do something in my life? So Peter was like, man, I don't know if God's going to do something in my life. I mean, I'm following him. I'm a disciple now. But he keeps going back to that insecurity like you and I do. I'm not enough. We all battle that. I could take you to a little house in Corona, California, at 3481 Grant Street when I was 17 years old and told my dad someday I'm going to be a pastor and a speaker and a communicator. And he looked at me in the hallway and said, you will never make it. Everybody has that moment. You have that insecurity, that fear. Am I good enough, smart enough, big enough, tall enough? Am I enough? We all have that. See, because you got to understand something. It's not what you are that holds you back. It's what you think you're not. That's what holds you back. It's like the lion. I always say this about the lion. You ever heard, what is the lion? He's the king of the what? He's the king of the what? Why is he the king of the jungle? Think about it for a minute. He's not the tallest. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest. He's not the fastest. None of it. So if he's not the tallest, the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, if he's not any of that, why is he the king of the jungle? He's the king of the jungle because he thinks he is. It's not what you are that holds you back. It's what you think you're not. God has different opinion of you. Peter struggled with what he felt about himself. Look at it in verse 24. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away. This is after Peter's following Jesus now. For a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them walking on the water. When the disciples saw him, he must have been from Miami. It's 3 in the morning. He's still up. You guys are unreal. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In their fear, they said, it's a ghost. But Jesus spoke to them, don't be afraid. Take courage, I'm here. Then Peter called to him, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you. Walking on the water, yes, come, Jesus said. So Peter went out over the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and waves, he was terrified and said, save me, Lord. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. You have so little faith, Jesus said. Okay, look on the screen for me. Very last sentence. Jesus said, why did you what? And you have so little faith. Why did you doubt me? Now, here's the deal. He's out on the boat. He's already following Jesus, but the insecurity, I'm not good enough, smart enough, talented enough, I'm not enough, is inside of his head. Jesus walks out on the water and says, Peter, come. And he says, all right. He starts walking on the water, but he starts to sink. Jesus reaches out to him, saves him, and says, why do you have such little faith? Now, here's the interesting thing. Now think about it for a minute. Did Peter lose his faith in Jesus? Is that why Jesus asked the question, why do you have little faith? Did Peter lose his faith in Jesus? That's hard to do. Hard to lose your faith in someone who's standing on water. I don't think Peter lost his faith in Jesus. I think Peter lost his faith in how Jesus viewed him. I'm not enough. I know that you called me to follow you, but I'm Peter. The rabbi told me I wasn't good enough. My dreams were shattered. My parents said I would never make it. My marriage, they rejected me. My finances haven't measured up. I said I was going to write a book. I never did. I said I was going to dream. I never did. I said I was going to become this. You don't understand. And the insecurity got in the way. One of my close friends, and I don't say this in a bragging way, it's because of what he said or some like name-dropping way, but one of my close friends is a basketball player. He played for the Knicks, now plays for the Mavericks, and it's Tyson Chandler. I think he's currently the tallest player in the NBA. He's 7'2". And I've known the family for years. I dedicated his children. I baptized his wife. I baptized him, which sounds really cool, but 7'2", you know how hard that is to do? Name of the Father, the Son, and the whole, I had like a crane, you know. It was a nightmare. Anyway, but we went fishing one time out on this boat, which was awesome because he paid for it. It was like a big private charter. 300 people could fit on the boat. He said, yeah, just me and my son. That way we got room. I'm like, room? You had like a crew of 10 people. It had to cost literally 10 grand, probably, seriously, for a couple hours. And he paid for it. If it would have been me, we'd have been at Walmart, would have bought a raft, whatever. But we're out there on this big old boat, and I'm like, hey, you're paying for it. So we're driving back, and this is what he says to me. He goes, Chris, he goes, there are a lot of better basketball players that are not in the NBA, and they're better than me. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? They're not better NBA or better basketball players. If they were, they'd be in the NBA. He goes, oh, no. He goes, I could take you to Detroit, Chicago, New York. There's a lot better basketball players that are better than me. I'll never forget what he said to me, and it really brings us into this point here. He said, because success doesn't depend on talent. It depends on choices. It's not about talent. It's about choices. Let me tell you something about your dream. It's not about your talent. It's about your choice. God doesn't give you a dream if he doesn't give you the ability to accomplish it. That would be a very, very insensitive God. Why would he give you a dream in your heart if he didn't give you the ability to accomplish it? Why would he give you a vision without the venue to make it happen? God gives us these dreams. It's not about talent. He already knows what you can and cannot do. Right? Some people, I'm not talented enough. Why'd you give me this dream, God? God knows what you can and cannot do. He knows which one of you can play guitar and can run business and can't. He knows which one of you can sing and can't. And in the church world, we let you know when you can't sing. Right? Like if you get a worship person over here and they can't sing, you're like, maybe you need to be an usher. God knows what you can and cannot do. But it comes down to choices, always. Okay, help me out. Success is not dependent upon talent. It's dependent on what? One more time. Everybody in the house, dependent on what? Okay, now here's the 3 choices Peter had to make, the same you have to make for your life, for this church, for your future. Number 1 is the word attitude. Say it out loud with me. What's the word? Attitude. You ever met anybody with a great attitude? 3 of you, good. All right. It's a positive church. All right. You ever met anybody with a bad attitude? Raise your hand up if you met someone with a bad attitude. Don't go like this. That's kind of rude. It's like, he's sitting next to me. Get him. You ever met anybody that brings more joy when they exit the room than when they enter? Like, really? You got to leave? Man, that's too bad. I'm sorry. We all know what that's like. Man, you guys have Disney World out here, which is amazing. We have Disneyland, much smaller, but we have Disneyland in Anaheim, California, Southern California. My kids were like 4 and 5, and we had never taken them to Disneyland yet, and we were going to take them for the very first time years ago. My wife and I had saved $11,000, so that was enough to get us in. And so we went to Disneyland. They have a ride at Disneyland called the Haunted House. It's not scary at all. It's nothing. You get in this little thing, music's playing. The most scary thing is like Mickey's got one ear or something. But everything else of that, it's not scary. So we're floating around, and my wife didn't go on it. She waited outside. But my kids were like, we'll go on it, Dad. And they got in there halfway through the ride. It's not scary at all. Halfway through the ride, they're like, ah, and they're screaming, they're crying. I'm holding on to them, like, this is horrible, and I wanted to turn it into a teaching lesson. So I was like, this is what happens when you don't clean your room. No, So we get off the ride, and they're like, what'll fix it? Cotton candy, So we had about $2,700 left, so we had enough to get cotton candy. And so we went over to the little stand with the umbrella. We walk up there, and no one's in line, so it's just me and the kids, and my wife's still sitting on the bench. My kids are just sitting there like 4 and 5, drying up the tears. And I said, I said, hello. I go, how are you? And this is the girl behind the counter at Disneyland. She goes, lousy. I'm like, you're at the happiest place on earth, lady. And she goes, I go, don't you like your job? She goes, no. And I said, well, are you good to have a place to live? Yeah, but I don't like my roommate. I go, do you have a car to drive? Yeah, but it doesn't run good. My kids are like, can we go back on the haunted house? This lady's freaking me out. Now, I felt sorry for this lady because I'm watching her attitude, and I'm knowing that it's going to dictate her life because her attitude will always determine the altitude of where she's going to go and how high she's going to go. And it's the same thing with you and the dreams that God has put inside your heart and the ideas that God has put inside your heart and what he wants you to become and the thoughts of the book that you want to write or the song or this or that or the finances or the marriage to get better. God is a dreamer. He dreams. He says in Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you, give you a hope and a future. Do you all feel prosperous, hopeful, and have a future? Some of you would say, and I think a lot of would say, no, I don't feel that way. So what's the problem? Is it God or is it us? You need to understand something about the promises of God. There are several promises that says we're blessed, we're highly favored, you are blessed, you are highly favored, you are crowned. Do you know what those promises have in common? You are blessed, you are highly favored, you are crowned. Check this out. Not the phrase you are. They're all written in the past tense. It's already done. You're already that. The problem isn't that you're not crowned. The problem is you're not lined up with that crown and saying, this is what God made me to be, and I'm going after it, and nobody's going to get in my way. That's what God looks for. It's the attitude. Matthew 7:7 says this. It says, ask and it will be given unto you. Seek and you'll find. Seek and you'll find has to do with attitude. Think about seek and you'll find. Think about it for a moment. Whatever you seek, you find. If you're looking for the best in your marriage, you'll find it. If you're looking for the worst, you'll find it too. Whatever you seek, you find. Hey, if you're looking for the best at work, you'll find it. If you're looking for the worst at work, you'll find it too. Whatever you seek, you find. Hey, you're looking for the best at Calvary Church, you'll find it. If you're looking for the worst, you'll find it too. Because whatever you seek, you find. It's like the vulture and the hummingbird. The hummingbird looks for what is alive, doesn't it? The little hummingbird looks for what's alive. The vulture looks for what is dead. The hummingbird looks for what is new. The vulture looks for what is old. The hummingbird looks for what is fresh. The vulture looks for what is stale. And both find exactly what they're looking for. Because whatever you seek, you'll find. It's about attitude. Second thing is this. It's the word belief. Say it out loud with me. What's the word? Come on, everybody in the house, give some noise for me. What's the word? Belief. All right. Now, here's what it comes down to. Matthew 9:29 says this. Now listen, according to your faith, it will be done for you. Jesus said, according to your faith, I'll do that for you. I'll do that for this church. I'll do that for your marriage. I'll do that for your career. I'll do that for your finance. I'll do that for the dreams that I put in your heart. According to your faith, I'll do it for you. Now, here's what Jesus says. According to your faith. If your faith and your dreams and your ideas are right here, fine, I'll meet you here. If they're way up here, I'll meet you there. If they're here or if they're here, I'll meet you wherever you want me to meet you. According to your faith, I will do that for you. Not according to mine, Jesus said, according to yours. You want me to meet you here? You want me to meet you here? I don't care where you want me to meet me. Just tell me where it's at, and I'll meet you there. That's what God does in our life. It's that belief to say, man, God, I believe. Because Peter had to believe that. Peter had to believe that he was enough the way he was and the way God made him, and that God had dreams for his life. Peter went from insecure to sinking in water to becoming the first pastor of the local church and to becoming an author and a speaker. What changed in Peter? It was his belief. The belief to say, God, I am your child and you have called me to greatness. See, understand something. You don't get what you want, you get what you believe. That's always the difference. And you don't live in the facts of your life. You live in what you believe about the facts of your life. That's the difference between Mozart and Manson. It's what they believe about the facts of their life. I always tell my children, man, you're a child of God. Believe it. Walk in God's strength and who you are. Believe it. If my kids were up here and they'd say, where does your dad park? Or try to park on December 24th, the day before Christmas, when the mall is crowded, where does your dad go? And they would tell you, I go right to the front. And I always say out loud, man, God's got a spot for me right in the front. I'm his kid. I am blessed and highly favored. Here's my spot. Now, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And we're like 9 miles away in another city. I remember my kids were really small, and they're like walking. We had to walk like a long way, and they're like, I thought you said, they're dragging behind them. Like, I thought you said God's got a plan, and we're his kid. Maybe he thinks we need to lose weight. Walk. But I really want them to get that. You know what I'm saying? I want them to talk like they're a child of God, walk like a child of God, act like a child of God, smile like a child of God. I am God's kid. Hey, women in the house, guess what? You're a daughter of the Prince of Peace. That's who you are. Walk like it, talk like it, act like it. I'm a daughter of the Prince of Peace. I don't know, I'm just kind of getting by. What the heck is that? Hey, men in the house, you are a son of the Alpha and the Omega. Everything you see that's been created by God, that's your dad. He created you. You are his son. You have a right to the royalty, men and women in the house. You are blessed. You are crowned. You are highly favored. It's written in the past tense because it's already done. It's not that God needs to line it up. It's that you need to line up with that thought. It's the belief, because it's not what you are that holds you back. It's what you think you're not. That's the difference. There's a lot of things that get in the way with our belief. If you're taking notes, here's some quick ones. Ready? Doubt gets in our way. Oh, man, isn't that true? I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. Will this work? What if this fails? And doubt starts getting in the way of our dreams. Let me tell you something. You need to feed your dreams and starve your doubts. Start realizing that God doesn't give you a dream if he doesn't give you the ability. Feed your dreams and starve your doubts. For this church, we all think, hey, God's doing awesome things. What if God's in heaven going, yeah, but I'd sure like to do a lot more if you guys would just dream a little bigger. You're thinking, he's doing enough, but what if he's up there going, nah, I got bigger things. Because of the dreams. Our doubt gets in the way. Fear gets in the way. Say it with me. What's the word? Fear gets in the way. We let fear. But here's the deal about fear. Fear, you might want to write this down. Fear must submit to belief. Think about how powerful that is. Fear has to submit to belief. People come up to me all the time. Chris, I got a belief problem. Or I got a fear problem. Here's what they say. Chris, I got a fear problem. I fear this, I fear that. I got a fear problem. No, you don't. You don't have a fear problem. You have a belief problem. Fear must submit to belief. The belief that God called me. The belief that God has dreams for my life. The belief that God is not average and he doesn't want me to live that way. And this is not a claim it and that it's not one of those messages. Not at all. I don't get into that. I'm just trying to line up your thinking with his thinking. That's all I'm trying to do. What does he think about you? Because I have a feeling that when you look in the mirror and you see yourself and the things that you feel about yourself is not the way God thinks and feels about you. There's no way he feels that about you. That's not who you are. Fear gets in the way. Doubt gets in the way. Here's another one. Insecurity gets in the way. What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? What are the fear? Blah, blah, blah. All this insecurity. Here's one more for you. Outside voices. Outside voices get in the way. Have you ever noticed those that tear down your dream are usually negative and broke? Am I right? Positive and prosperous people don't tear down your dream. Negative and broke people do, don't they? Why do we listen to negative and broke people? like, dude, you're broke. You're negative. Get away from me. Some of you, if you got some negative people in your life, you need to get them out of your life. Some of you are thinking, well, I sleep right next to them. What do I do? Here's what happens, though. You know why people tear down dreams? Because it happens to me all the time. I believe God's going to do this. I believe God's going to do this. You're afraid to say you want to start a business. You're afraid to say you wanted to write the book because people are going to tear down your dream. They're going to. Trust me. But you know how you avoid criticism? Let me help you out. Ready? Write this down. Here's how you avoid criticism. Be nothing, do nothing, say nothing. That's how you avoid it. That's how you avoid criticism. Be nothing, do nothing, say nothing. Then you'll avoid it altogether. But understand something about negative people. They are going to tear down your dreams to a level that's comfortable for themselves. They're going to tear down your dream to a level that's comfortable for themselves because your desire for excellence threatens their mediocrity. That's why they tear it down. They're going to rip it down every time. Third and final thing is the word courage. Say it out loud with me. Everybody in the house, out loud. One more time. What is it? Courage. All right, courage. So courage becomes an issue. Okay? It's the courage for Peter to say, this is what I thought I was, but this is who I am. The rabbi told me I wasn't good enough. I sunk in the water, but now look at what I'm doing now. And what did they say about Peter in Acts? Those who've turned the world upside down have come here too. Everything changed in Peter's life because his attitude got adjusted. His crown of belief got adjusted of what God thought about him. And his courage started coming up. Because understand something, you have two choices. You can walk out of here courageous or you can walk out of here comfortable. You ever heard this phrase, I enjoy it in my comfort zone. You know what? If you leave your comfort zone, you're going to realize your comfort zone wasn't all that comfortable to begin with. That's what you'll figure out. It's not that comfortable to begin with. I like my comfort zone. No, you don't. You don't. It's where God wants you to be is where you're going to find the greatest joy and the greatest excitement. It's the courage to keep marching forward. I'm going to talk about, in a moment, I'm going to talk about Feed One and how we can all be involved in what Pastor Bob is leading here today. He's going to come here in a few minutes, but let me wrap it up and tell you this story. I love baseball. I do. I love the game of baseball. When my son was 8 years old, we started seeing 3 stadiums a month or a year in the summer. And last summer, we finished up our final 3 stadiums. My son and I have seen every baseball stadium in America and the one in Canada. We've seen them all. Now, some of you are like, oh, that's sweet. You didn't have to pay for it, so it sounds good to you. But we've seen them. Now, I love baseball. Now, let me tell you a story. It's really good. When my son was about 2 or 3 years old, there was this guy in the church that I was an associate pastor at. He came up and goes, hey, I know you love baseball and you travel a lot. Can you be an assistant coach and kind of help me out whenever? I'm taking on a little team, 9 and 10-year-olds, called the White Sox. And it's in L.A., and these guys are insane about baseball. In Los Angeles, parents all weird about it. It's fanatic. It's unhealthy, really. And he says, we're going to do this thing, and you can be an assistant coach of the White Sox. I said, okay. So first day of practice, follow this now. There's 15 kids lined up. They're all sitting on this little bench. Parents are all behind filling out paperwork of the little White Sox team. And we walk along, and I said, what's your name? We're introducing ourselves. What's your name? Jose. What's your name? Freddie. What's your name? Bobby. What's your name? Carlos. What's your name? We come to this big Samoan kid, huge for his age. And he looked at me and goes, people call me the babe. Like, you're so humble, just like, wow, praise God. Now, if you know anything about baseball, after 26 games, Babe's batting average was .767. That's unreal in baseball. Unreal. The Babe had a beautiful swing. He could pound the ball. One of the most gorgeous swings I've ever seen. And I love baseball and I know baseball. He had an amazing swing. The problem with Babe was that it's not the issue he couldn't hit the ball. He pounded the ball. He hated running. We had to set up incentives at all the bases. Like a Snicker bar at first and a Fun Dip at second, just to kind of motivate him to keep going. He'd be on second base, and the ball's still in the outfield. He's like, I'm done. This is far enough. But we had another kid on the team named Freddie. Now, Freddie had no athletic ability in his body whatsoever. None. But he was the most positive kid I've ever met in my entire life. Small, little, scrawny kid. He'd stand up to bat like this, and he's the most positive kid, but no athletic ability at all. And he'd be like, strike one. He's just happy as ever, man. Strike 2, strike 3. He'd run back. I'm back, coach. He thought the goal was to get back to the dugout as fast as possible. I did it in 30 seconds. I'm like, yeah, I know, Freddie. Oh, I'd stand on the first base as a first base coach, and all year long I'd say, Freddie, take a swing. You can do it, man. Take a swing. Strike one, strike two, strike three. All year long. About the 12th game, his dad yells out from the stands. I'm going, take a swing. His dad yells out, Freddie, don't swing. You can't hit. You're no good. Now, what do I do as a pastor and as a leader? I look over at Freddie. Now, keep in mind, Freddie's dad's ginormous. And I look over at Freddie and I said, Freddie, don't listen to your dad. Swing. Freddie's dad turns around. It took about 20 minutes. What'd you say? Say. It echoed towards me. I'm on, Freddie, take a swing, take a swing. About the 15th game, he got a foul ball, just dribbled 5 feet. His hands vibrated. Like, what's going on, coach? He never felt contact. So he stands up there, and just striking out the whole time, all the time, strikes out all the time, never gets on base. And we get to the playoff game, the championship game. We'd only lost one game all year long. Our record was 24-1, and we're going to the championship game. 400 people show up in L.A. to watch this Little League game, and 3 news vans. I'm telling you, the people are freaks. And so we battle it out. It's a 6-inning game. We battle out. We get to the bottom of the 6th. It's the bottom of the 6th. It's our last ups, and we're down 2-1. We got to at least get 1 to tie, put in extra innings, or 2 to win. I bring the team together. Hey, right, guys, we can do it. 1, 2, 3, White Sox, And I go out to the first base coach. First kid gets up to bat. Crack! He nails a double. We got a guy on second, nobody out. I'm like, thank God we got a guy in scoring position. We're only down by 1. Next kid gets up. Boom! Line drive right back to the pitcher, and he catches it. 1 out. Man on second. Next kid. Little blooper right over to the second baseman. 2 outs. Man on second. And who's coming to bat? You think he's nervous? Not at all. He don't care. He turns around. There's a lot of people here. Is this an important game? And when do I get my go-gurt? Because that's really what I'm here for. So I stand up there. I'm like, come on, Freddie, you can do it. Take a swing. Take a swing. Strike 1. He does this. Freddie, come on, you can do it. Strike 2. 2 outs. 2 strikes, man on second. We're 1 strike away from losing it all. Now it's time for me and God to have a talk. So on the first base, I'm like, God, all year long, I have been telling this kid to take a swing. And I know that he has no athletic ability in his body whatsoever. And there is no chance that his bat is going to hit the ball. But could you, by accident, let the ball hit the bat? If that doesn't happen, let the ball hit him. I don't care either way. So I'm standing there on first. Take a swing. Come on, Freddie. Take a swing. Here comes the pitch. The whole season comes down to this. Freddie, crack! He nails a line drive into right field. Oh, yeah. Now, here's the problem, though. He didn't know what to do. We never had to train him to run. We never thought we'd get this far. So I'm all, go, go, go. So he starts running. He rounds first. The kid's charging it in right field, and it goes right through his legs. And the kid on second, he's already home. We're already tied up, and the kid had wheels. So I'm like, go, go. Freddie rounds first. It's the kid's chasing it in right field at this point. I illegally go from first base coach over the pitcher's mound to third base because I want to meet Freddie over there. As I go over, I make eye contact with Freddie's dad. So told you it'd work. I get over there. I'm at third base. Here comes Freddie. Here comes the relay. Everybody's yelling, hold him, hold him. We're tied up at this point. Not me. I'm like, no way, heck no, I'm taking a risk. I start to send them, but it occurs to me while I'm sending them, all the pressure's on me. I'm sending them. Freddie, he don't even feel any pressure at all. He's rounding third. He don't care. So I'm all, go, go, go. He comes in. The relay comes in. Here comes the ball. Here comes Freddie. I yell out, slide. He didn't know how to slide. Never had to train him, so it was more of a duck and roll. It was a mess. He landed on the plate. Glove comes down. We wait for the umpire's call. This is the whole season, man. And the umpire yells out, safe. And we win the game on Freddie's one and only hit all year long. We take his 33-pound body and we start marching around. Oh, he's still saying, when do I get my Capri Sun? That's all he cares about. You know, I told Freddie all year long to take a swing. And I want to challenge you today to take a swing in your own life. You got dreams that God has put inside of your heart. Swing at them. You got finances to make better, careers that you can make better, books to write, marriages to change, ideas that have not yet been birthed because you're born with a shout, but we end up with a whisper. Go after them. And you know, one of the ways, and I mean this with all of my heart, I am a pastor, not a missionary. I'm not. But I have given some of my time to this amazing organization, and I partner with these guys. Because here's the deal. Here's what I know. Now listen, this is important. If you want to ignite your dream today, then first ignite it in somebody else. Make it real for somebody else. I'm a part of this organization. Convoy Hope runs it, but Feed One is the initiative. And what we do is we have 146,000, pretty amazing, 146,000 children a day that we feed in 11 countries, including America. One close by here called Haiti, a little country called Haiti, just a couple-hour plane ride away, that we feed 50,000 children over there every single day. We do it for $10 a month. It feeds them, gives them an education, and a chance to hear about Jesus. But let me tell you something. These kids have dreams too. I've been to them. I talk to them. What do you want to be when you grow up? You know what they tell me? They don't look at me and go, I don't know. I'm an orphan. What am I going to do? I talked to a 9-year-old kid who was abandoned when he was day 3 on the doorsteps of an orphanage. So what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, I'm going to be a doctor. Next little girl says, I'm going to be a nurse. One girl says, I'm going to be the president of Haiti. I'm going to do it. They have dreams. But you know what? It takes people to stand in the gap and to close the gap between their current reality and their future. Now, what we've done is we've taken villages and orphanages of 50 or 100 or 200 or 400. And we said, what if churches started adopting these villages? We did this a year ago. Many of you responded. Some of you are still doing it. Some of you opted out or whatever happened there. But Pastor is going to come in just a moment. Pastor Bob is going to come in just a moment. Because you guys have decided, Pastor Bob and the leadership team here have decided, we're going to take care of an orphanage, this village of several hundred kids in Haiti. A place you can go visit and they say, that's Calvary's. We take care of those kids. We give them a future. It's only $10 a month to take care of a kid. To me, I always say this. You don't need to pray about whether or not to take care of a kid. You just need to pray about how many. Because there's really no spiritual option in this thing. So if it's 1 kid or 3 kids or 5 kids, whatever. I promise you, I've been there. This is the real deal. Pastor Mark's been there. He's seen the kids that you're going to adopt. This is an incredible opportunity. I challenge you today. Make their dream come true by standing in the gap from their current reality to the future. And by saying, we as Calvary are going to take care of this village. Our church has done it. I'm asking you guys to do the same. I'm going to ask Pastor Bob to come right now. He's going to close it out how he sees fit.